Ouida, and I spell it for everyone because they say, what is that name? And I know earlier, Roy had mentioned Celeste Hodge-Grouden back here, who is the chair and CEO of Alaska Black Caucus. So who is Alaska Black Caucus? Who do we represent? So we're a nonpartisan 501c3, and we represent everyone. Yes, our emphasis is on Black people. We have different emphasis, whether that's in justice, education, economics, and health. And yes, we're inclusive of all BIPOC people and allies. We do a lot in the community, and we'll talk a little bit more about some upcoming things that we're going to be doing. But we also want to make sure that everyone understands that we welcome all. We want to work with everyone who supports the vision, the inclusion of all people, and rights for all people. So in saying that, we know, and I've heard a lot said today, including history, one of my favorite topics, true history, because I believe we need to understand where we've been to understand where we're going. And so with that being said, I'm just going to give you a little bit of history because I just love history. So when we talk about things such as the emancipation of slavery, which happened in 1865, we know that things happened back then that people became aware of. We're going to talk about Black people. Black people who were enslaved in that 20 years of Reconstruction did a whole lot of wonderful things. A lot of people might not realize had their own businesses, so that economic piece, was able to sustain communities, was able to even get elected to Congress. Now we're talking men, we're not talking women, but it happened to be Black people. We talk about the Constitution being inclusive of everyone with its amendments. The original Constitution was not even looking at Black people as whole people. We were considered property. We did not have voting rights for sure. We couldn't own land. We could not do a lot of things. So we look at that, we move on past the 20 years of Reconstruction, and then we move into even other times, more recent times, whether it's the 1900s or even today. Black people, as you might have heard of Greek, you might have heard of other communities that were destroyed, because when Black people will thrive and survive, we're very resilient. So we will make something out of nothing. We have been able to do that forever. So I was fortunate enough to be raised by grandparents, and even my great-grandmother was still alive when I was a kid. I got to meet people that were even born in the 1800s. Yeah, that was a long time ago. When I was a kid, it seemed like a real long time. But I learned a lot from those people and how they were able to survive and thrive. So as a community, we will survive and thrive. But also as our bigger community, we want to look at the greater good for all people, not just, Black people. Because in this together, there is strength in numbers. I had this realization probably 20, 25, 30 years ago. Because again, I study things, I look at things, I look at trends. Everything is not an individual, if you will, thing, an occurrence. It doesn't occur in a vacuum. Some people I know are talking about Project 2025 today. That started way back when with Agenda 47 during the Reagan years. So go back into history. And history, again, is a great teacher. But what we at Alaska Black Caucus want to do is educate people about those things. We want to educate you, too, about voting and voting rights and how critical it is to vote. I know sometimes it gets frustrating, but I always say as long as we stay on the right side of right, that's how I feel about my vote, I'm good with it, because I certainly cannot control what happens massively, but I can touch one person at a time. So take time and touch your one person at a time. It may be in your family. I always say we can correct and we can gently correct, so I work on that every day when I run into people. I give them information. They may not believe me, but I say, go look it up for yourself. Not just what you hear in sound bites and news. So how do we get information? Let's talk about that. Alaska Black Caucus has community conversations every Sunday from 7 to 8 on Zoom. Anyone can tune in and listen in. I encourage you to do that. This week is about education. We've got Commissioner Dina Bishop from 7 to 8. TheAlaskaBlackCaucus.com. It can be, you can sign up for the Zoom. You can also go and watch it on Facebook Live. So I encourage you to educate yourself again, little bits at a time. We will be having another community conversation coming up on the 16th. So let me just say, this is so fabulous because the aunties, and I had such a pleasure talking to Karen, the aunties organized this. Alaska Black Caucus have been talking about we need to get together with our like-minded community, and we need to have conversations together because there is strength in numbers. And so this is wonderful, and we want this conversation to continue. So on the 16th, we're going to revisit a couple of conversations we've had, and we'll be inviting some of you, all of you actually, to participate in some way. But we would like for you also to come and be part of our community conversation because we want the strength in numbers to grow and to continue to grow. This is not a competition, nor is it about anyone. It's about all of us and how all of us can work as a unit, a cohesive unit. We don't have to agree on everything. We can actually just come on together on issues that we do agree on. And that's perfectly fine too. But I think everyone in this room would say we're looking for the greater good of all. So that's the most important thing, the greater good of all. This is not individualized. This is not selfishness. This is not about me or my pocketbook or I'm okay as long as it's with those people and them and they and not me. It's really about future. It's about all of us. It's about our kids, our grandkids, and everyone moving forward. We want to make this world and this country and this state and this city a better place for all people. So, I'm not going to beleaguer it too much. I'll just tell you a couple more things. The Equity Center with Alaska Black Caucus, we have a nice facility downtown. We hopefully will be getting our occupancy soon. But one of the upcoming things I want you to keep in mind, again, via AlaskaBlackCaucus.com, you can find all kinds of information. But I want you to think about Juneteenth. So Juneteenth is going to be our big grand opening. And please mark your calendars again, but you can find all this on our website. And we do encourage all of you to, participate and come. So Alaska Black Caucus, again, has several committees, and we have committee chairs. I'm the economics committee chair, so money, 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 money. Everybody needs money, right? And so we've got to think about how we can be in a position and position ourselves financially. Someone mentioned that earlier, and it's critical that we as individuals figure out how we can survive and thrive regardless of what happens. And money is a stressor for a lot of people. So those are the kind of things we do, and we will be educating, and we'll continue to educate that economic piece, and we'll have hopefully workshops and classes. That's some of our plans. Our other committees is justice. One of the big things that the Justice Committee's been working on is body cams and police and body cams and the necessity of what that camera can show that really happens. Because if someone was telling the story, worst testimony you can have is eyewitness testimony. Because we all focus differently. We all see things very differently. But body cams, you can actually see what really happens. And we, of course, have the Education Committee. I mentioned this, tune in Sunday, is going to be Dean Bishop, Commissioner of Education. We have an education system that certainly needs some repair. I don't disagree with that. But I don't like public funds going to private institutions. No. That's something I don't. And health. We talk about health. We all want to make sure we continue to be healthy, continue to thrive. And when we're talking about, health in Black people, certainly there's been a lot of things that's historically happened. But a lot of the testing, and even with drugs and medications, they haven't necessarily been done done with people of color. Yes, there's been some other things, whether it's gynecological type education, we'll say, as far as scientists way back when. It was done to Black women without their permission. We have recently with Henrietta Lack and the fact that her cancer cells were being used by Johns Hopkins all these years. And then, of course, we have what's happened with syphilis and introduction to the Tuskegee Airmen. So we've had a lot of things happen throughout history, but as it is, we need to take care of our health and be more proactive in our health, whether that's our physical health or our mental health. So we do have, the Health Education Committee, and voter rights is a big thing for us too. We definitely encourage people to vote. I know a lot of people don't think even understand our system of voting and why local elections really matter, and why something as maybe simple as you might not have thought about this, but the Chugach Electric Board, and how a lot of people get on that board, and that's a jump-off point for those who want to run for office. So think about things like that too, and even positioning yourselves and saying, well, this is not so important, but it really is. School board race is important, assembly race is important, How many of you heard about the 3% proposal for 3% sales tax? Okay, there is a 3% sales tax being discussed for Anchorage, and yes, it is on the Assembly Municipality website. A lot of people don't even know about it even probably being discussed. And what happens is all of a sudden something kind of pops up and there's a, oops, what? I didn't know anything about it. I know it's a lot to keep up with and to keep in touch with and to track and to do all of that, but it's so critical for our own daily existences and how we do that. And again, Alaska Black Caucus has a forum in which we make sure that those educational things do get to the public. All of our sessions are recorded. You can go back and listen to previous ones on the Facebook webpage. You can go there and look them up from sessions back. And so that way, if you miss one or for some reason you can't tune in live, you can always do that. So with that, I won't beleaguer it anymore, but I do appreciate the opportunity and looking forward for all of us coming together to make Anchorage a wonderful place to live and making the country a wonderful place. So thank you all. Let's move on.